Hi everyone. I'm going to be responding to a question from a viewer that I thought was one, very interesting, and two, very relatable for a lot of people. So I didn't want to pass it off and simply respond to her in an email. I wanted to make a video about it because I am sure that there are plenty of you out there who may have been wondering the same thing. Basically, she told me that there's one big problem she keeps coming up against in the recovery process, and that is that she can't forgive herself for past failures, things that happened years and years ago. And she tells me about what she's currently doing, and it seems like she's wonderfully successful and actually doing very well in recovery. But she says that she can't quite seem to let go of the fact that she feels like she failed and it was a letdown, and she was a letdown in that area of her life. And she said, it's really draining my energy and it makes me feel like a failure. I'm starting to like who I am now, but I wish I could change the past and make it perfect. And I think that pretty much sums it up in a nutshell. She wishes she could change the past and make it perfect. And I think that at different points, a lot of us feel that way. They want to be able to change what's already happened and make it perfect. It feels like they have painted this masterpiece, and all of the painting that they've done in the last few years of their life is so wonderful and so good, and they're so proud of it. And then they wish that they could go back and erase the painting, from the first half of their masterpiece, because it doesn't measure up. And, unfortunately, we can't do that because it's already happened, and we all know what's past is past, and we have to move on from there. There isn't some magic thing that I can tell you to make your past seem more perfect. There, in short, is no way to perfect your past now. So, knowing that, the only thing that you can do is learn to accept the past as it is and move on from there. And that is such a hard thing. And it's something that's always been very hard for me. And I still continue to work at it every day. But I do think I've made some significant progress in not being able to perfect things and accepting things as they are. Acceptance is a very hard thing to learn. Partly because part of acceptance is patience, and patience is very hard to learn as well. If you're proud of where you are right now and what you're doing right now, that is so incredibly important, and you should be very proud of yourself for feeling that way. And the here and now is all that matters. All we have is now. You have to be here now. The past is nothing that we can work with and nothing that we should concern ourselves with. Things in the past may have influenced the way that we are now. They may have influenced our lives. They most certainly have influenced the people that we've become. But those years are gone, and there's nothing that we can do to change anything that happened during them. And I know I'm saying this, and most people out there realize that, but this learning to accept is a very, very hard lesson. I think getting older causes us to reflect, and there are certainly things that I wish were different, or turned out differently than I expected them to, and this acceptance is the hardest lesson that I think I have ever had to learn. I think once you master acceptance of where you are and the circumstances that surround you, you'll be in an amazingly good place. And for a lot of people, accepting where they are now is hard. For example, if they thought they'd be they thought they'd be somewhere different at this point, or they thought they'd have made more progress by this point in their life. Acceptance is very key there. But accepting your past is easier even than that. And one of the things that I've always said to people is, you can change your reality. This may be your reality, but if you don't like it, you can change it. And you obviously have figured that out, because if you didn't like your past, you changed it and now you like the person that you are today. So you've learned that lesson and you've done it. You've changed your reality. So congratulations. It might have taken longer than you hoped or expected, and you still might have some hang-ups about the past, but really what you've done is a huge accomplishment. Things like this, these big things in our past that are holding us back, they are our biggest barriers, they are our biggest burdens, and they're really just us. It's us holding ourselves back. And the sooner you realize that, and the sooner you can let it go and remember that now is all that matters, the better off you're going to be. And no, it sounds like common sense, but you really have to work on this acceptance. If we try so hard to change the past, it's going to make our present even harder. And perhaps one day in the future, the now will be the past, and you will wish that you could have changed something about the now because it wasn't perfect. So, in focusing on what's already happened, you're jeopardizing your current situation that could in fact be very good. So, you want to make sure you're not sabotaging yourself. Sometimes it's just about adopting a mantra like, be here now, and telling yourself that every day, a few times a day. Or maybe even telling yourself that now is what matters. Whenever you have those thoughts about the past and you're feeling like a failure, or you're feeling like something wasn't quite as perfect as you hoped it would be. Acceptance means avoiding harsh judgments, and that includes harsh judgments of ourselves. And I think, for the most part, people struggling with eating disorders are their own worst critics. They're their own worst enemies. And it's really important when you're thinking of your past to remember, I'm being my own worst enemy right now. And just telling yourself that. I mean, for the most part, a lot of these mental battles that are continuing and are still going on within us, we have the power to stop them. We have the power to win the battle, but it's really just as simple as talking to yourself. I mean, that doesn't have to be out loud. It can be written in a journal, words that way, or it can be just, giving yourself a little pep talk in your head and letting yourself know that it's okay. The past is done and you're an amazing person now, or you will be an amazing person from this point forward. And the only thing holding you back is the hang up you have with not being able to perfect your past. But the truth is that no one can perfect their past, and no one's past is perfect. No one's here and now is even perfect. Perfect is a fallacy that doesn't exist. Acceptance is acknowledging what you're feeling and standing back from it, so that even though you're experiencing the bad feelings that go along with thinking about your past, you don't let yourself be defined by it. I also think something that can be really helpful, especially if things in our past that we, wish could be erased clean or made perfect happened when we were very young, as children, as teenagers, or as young adolescents. I think it can be very helpful to write that person a letter. And by that person, I mean you, but I mean the younger you. So don't underestimate the power of sitting down one day and giving yourself an hour and just opening a blank notebook or pulling a blank piece of paper from somewhere or sitting in front of a blank computer screen and typing or writing, "Dear so-and-so." You're going to write, if it was me, "Dear Arielle," and you're going to tell yourself, as that child, as that adolescent, what you really would want to say to them. And it can be kind of a healing process, but it can also be a way of preparing your mind to let it go. So you might tell yourself in this letter, "I really wish that someone had not made me get up there and pursue music when my heart wasn't in it." Or even, "I really wish that I had been able to be perfect, but I wasn't. And right now, it's really hard for me to let that go. But I want you to know you're talking to your younger self. I want you to know that it's okay because no one can be perfect. And you have a lot more perspective as an adult, that you can be kinder to yourself as a younger person than you can be to yourself currently. If you have a picture of yourself as a child that you can prop somewhere while you're writing this letter, it might help, because it might help you sort of differentiate yourself now from yourself then. And it's really hard for some people to be kind to themselves now, but thinking of being kind to themselves as a child is a lot easier. Looking into that child's face that was you and writing a letter and telling yourself that it's okay, and I wish you had done better, or I wish someone didn't force you to do better, or I wish these things hadn't happened to you, but they did. And now I accept them and I'm going to heal you. Whatever it is you need to tell your old self, tell yourself. And if you need to continue this exercise and write a series of letters to your younger self, I think it can be very beneficial. Sometimes you might find when you write a letter to your younger self talking about this past issue that's such a burden to you, it can actually be so freeing that a lot of the problem is alleviated and you feel so much better that more letters aren't even necessary. It's really amazing, the power of this exercise, I think. And if you can't take care of it with one letter, don't stop. Keep a little journal and, have those letters in that journal be for the sole purpose of talking about that big problem, that big hang up from the past that you can't get over. The fact of the matter is, no one is going to be able to take care of this problem for you except for you. So you have to find a way that works for you and do it. And the key to all of this, as I've been saying this entire time, is acceptance. Acceptance is very hard. It's not going to happen in one day. It's going to take a lot of work. Acceptance can be a lifelong process, but learning to battle acceptance is a lot better than trying to battle this big issue that's in your past and wanting to perfect your past. So sort of keep that in your mind as well when you're thinking about this. Part of this is changing your attitude, but the other part of it is letting go. And this letter writing process is going to help you be able to let go.